Interruption, but I'm Mike Wilbon. Tony, a woman in Alaska found a message in a bottle that was set adrift in 1987.
Yeah, I'm Tony Kornheiser. It said, "You up?" Now, this has been explained to me as to why this is funny.
Yeah,
that's
it
what
was
people
just
a lot
explained
younger
to
than
me
us
too.
do. Yeah,
I mean,
so I think it's pretty funny. What's funniest about it, of course, is that somebody would put that in a bottle in 1987.
Well, it would have been better if it was in a bottle in 1927. That would have
that
really...
would be much better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You up, boo?
1927.
Yeah. Have at it.
I wouldn't have believed it, but I like the idea of it. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, Michigan moves up, Duke goes down, and LeBron James is out. But we begin today with the Phoenix Suns stretching their winning streak to 17 games by beating the NBA's preeminent team, the Golden State Warriors, last night, 104-96. Now, Steph Curry was oddly awful. He scored only 12 points. He shot a woeful 3 of 14 from three, probably his worst game of the year. Wilbon, you were there. All credit to the Suns, or was it simply an off night for Steph Curry?
It was an off night for Steph Curry because Steph Curry, no matter who's guarding him, can have a great night, has many great nights, has more great nights doing that thing, firing the rock than anybody ever. But this was about the Suns. The Suns played great defense, Tony, and they helped exacerbate that bad night that Steph was having. Mikal Bridges specifically. He's a player that 90% of the people listening to us don't even know who he is. Even though they think, oh, wait a minute, did he win a national championship at Villanova? Yeah. But more importantly, Tony, he's become a terrific NBA player. He is still young, and he is still getting better in all phases. He can impact the game without ever shooting the ball, even though he can shoot the three. He has a diverse game. He can get inside. He has medium-range game like everybody on Phoenix seems to have. He was a big part of the reason that Steph Curry had a bad night. He's not going to stop Steph Curry. Steph Curry is going to score at least 30 in the next game when they play on Friday night. But for last night, man, that was exciting basketball. Yeah, I think it's what a lot of us expected. Mikal Bridges had a lot to do with Curry's off night.
So I thought about this, and I would give all credit to Phoenix because they're out there trying to stop him. Steph Curry is not shooting alone in a gym and missing shots hitting, the rim. They're out there working to make him miss shots. I thought I saw at one point DeAndre Ayton go out and block a shot.
Yes,
if a seven-footer goes out to check Steph Curry, that's a big deal. So Phoenix has to get credit for that. They have to get credit for playing the second half without Devin Booker, who I believe is their leading scorer, and winning the game. I mean, look, it's early in the season. I'm not going to say this is something that you put on the wall and look at for the rest of the time. But Phoenix needs to get some credit. This is now 17 in a row, and that's the best team in the league. The previous 16, you could say Brooklyn was a very good team, and the other teams you would wonder how good are they. But this to me is a big deal. They have a chance to back it up on Friday. If Booker doesn't play, it's going to be harder. But I give them more credit. I do. I give them credit.
And Tony, it sounds like Booker's going to be out for a few games. That's what we're told now. That just depressed me last night when Booker had to go out in the second quarter. I'm sitting right there looking at the play, and he got bumped, and it was contact, yes, and he landed a little bit awkwardly, and then he was in the locker room. I'm like, this is not a good thing. But you're right. For the Suns to win that game without Devin Booker, who's been playing great, and now they got to go the rematch Friday. The rematch Friday.
Okay.
I mean, Golden State is going to be ready for that.
In this particular game last night, all the pressure was on Phoenix. Phoenix was the upstart, even with 16 in a row.
Feel any
the pressure was not on Golden State.
Felt like a playoff game.
Through.
It just felt like two teams that really wanted to find out where they are.
Well, the playoffs are in 7 months, so don't
well, you know what?
Away.
That's why there was no pressure. But they measured themselves against each other, which is the only team to measure yourself against, as you said. Let's move to college football, Tone, in these latest playoff rankings. Unbeaten Georgia stays at number 1. Michigan goes up to number 2. Alabama, Cincinnati round out the top 4 in that order, 3-4. Knocking on the door at 5 and 6 are Oklahoma State and Notre Dame. Tone, how does this all sit with you?
I was outraged, as you well know, because 5 minutes after this was revealed, I called you. And I said, you got to be kidding with this. You got to be kidding to put Oklahoma State ahead of Notre Dame. Okay, I'm going to go for a while here, so get something to eat. Oklahoma State had a good win at home against Oklahoma. That's a good win. They're now 11-1,
Yes.
I believe, the same
Yes.
as Notre Dame, 11-1.
Yeah. Yep.
Oklahoma State's loss this year is to Iowa State. Where is Iowa State ranked? Nowhere. That's where they're ranked. They're not ranked. Notre Dame goes out. They beat Stanford. They beat them down 45-17, I believe.
On the road.
I know Stanford's not a good team.
On the road,
On the
too.
road. I know they're not a good team, but one of their wins is over Oregon, who's rated 10th at the moment. So, like Notre Dame's losses to who? Cincinnati. Where are they ranked? 4. A long way away from Iowa State. And you jump them with Oklahoma State. There's only one reason this happened.
I was getting to that. What's the reason, Tone?
That committee sat there and they wanted to hit Brian Kelly for leaving Notre Dame. And they wanted Notre Dame to understand, you're not getting in this playoff with an interim coach. We're not having you. And I know they said that's not true. And I say it is true.
It would be so unbelievably petty. And by the way, as you know from our conversation last night, I agreed with you completely. I'm not as steamed about it as you, because I hate Notre Dame. At least that's the role I play. I sort of admire but hate Notre Dame. It's sort of like the Cardinals and the Packers. I got all these places that I hate, but I sort of admire them because of the way they do what they do. But Tone, this was intentional and it was petty. I don't care what they say either. How can you vote Notre Dame behind Oklahoma State? It's like, stop, shut up. I don't want to hear this. I know the people in the room, and I know half the people in that room. They're expert at what they do. They're knowledgeable, layer after layer after layer upon layer of knowledge about college football. But you know what? The rest of us aren't stupid, even if we don't know as much as you people in the room. You don't vote Notre Dame behind Oklahoma State. That's just junk. And by the way,
I'll tell you one other thing.
What?
One other thing to consider, and that's Cincinnati. The infatuation with Oklahoma State ought to make Cincinnati a little bit nervous, because if Oklahoma State beats Baylor, and they are a ranked team, and they win the Big 12,
beats
and they
Houston?
got vaulted once, if you vault them one more time from 5, you can only go to 4. So if you're Cincinnati and you get a ranked team finally in Houston, which I believe is 21, you better beat them down. You better not wait to see that Alabama loses by 10 to Georgia. You better take care of your own stuff.
The only school I'm rooting for hard this coming week is Cincinnati, because I believe that any reason at all is reason enough for a good number of those committee members to say, let's get rid of Cincinnati. And I want to see Cincinnati in. I do. And if Cincinnati wins just comfortably, you're right, Tony, it may not be enough if they win, 28-14. The committee looking for a reason. I think a lot of those members are looking for a reason to bounce them.
Well, I'm going to personalize this one. Yesterday in the Big Finish, I asked you if you were smelling upset unranked Ohio State over #1 Duke, and you said no. Well, Ohio State beat Duke last night 71-66. In fact, Ohio State manhandled Duke late. They held Duke scoreless in the last 4 minutes of the game. So big deal, little deal, no deal.
Well, mostly for reasonable purposes of discussion, the result, it's no deal. It's no deal. It's good. But if we tilt this discussion toward Duke, I think it's a big deal and it's a good deal. I think this is the kind of game you go on the road, and coaches like Mike Krzyzewski, who've been doing this for 100 years, they want their guys to listen to them as they get closer to the holidays and as they approach the ACC season. They want to be able to go into the gym, which is their laboratory, and have people paying strict attention. And this is how that happens. They get a little full of themselves, or as everybody says now, they're smelling themselves, and they go up to Columbus and they get popped, and now they got to listen to the coach because they're not that great, all right? They're not the Christian Laettner, Grant Hill, Bobby Hurley Duke team just yet. So I think this could be a good deal for the Dukies, Tony. I really do.
I agree with everything you have just said, except the first thing where you said it's no deal, because I think this is a big deal, and I'm going to tell you why. Because Duke was #1 and they'd beaten Gonzaga. And when #1 goes down, even in hostile territory, I think that's a big deal. And I don't want to make this into Chaminade beating Virginia. Ohio State's a tremendous program year after year after year. I mean, people have to understand that. But Duke has real talent. And I don't care that Ohio State wasn't ranked. Mike, their first 4 games, or the previous 4 games, at Xavier, Seton Hall, Florida, Duke, all those teams have been ranked this year.
Yes.
This is the Big Ten ACC Challenge. These are the best two basketball conferences in the country. This is not the ACC against America East. It's not. So when you win a game like this and beat number one, it's big. This is not a tournament in the Bahamas on an aircraft carrier where they bring in some pigeons to feed the big boys. So to me, it actually is, and I understand what you're saying, to me it actually is a big deal that Ohio State won.
Strictly the result. Like I looked at the score, Tony. I'm in Phoenix last night, and I'm getting ready to watch the thing I cared about the most this whole week. And I saw the score, and I was like, well, good for the Buckeyes. And I'm a Big Ten person. I got people who are texting me who are Buckeye people, and they're Ohio people, and they were loving this last night. So it matters to them.
Ohio State's a big deal school.
Important program. Absolutely.
Yes. Coming up, is Julius Randle right that officials treated him unfairly last night?
And is a 5-game suspension enough for biting your opponent? Biting.
They matched up these two conferences according to relative ability. They had good teams play good teams. So, to me, that was...
Pardon the Interruption is presented by Captain Morgan. Bring on the spice. Drink responsibly. Part of Happy Hour. And in Pardon the Interruption, presented by Captain Morgan. Part of Happy Hour.
Time for Wilbon and I to have words with each other. What's first?
Julius Randle is blank to be upset with the officiating after the Knicks lost to the Nets.
My word is Shackton angry. Did you see what Randle said to the referees? Can you read lips? Because I can't say on this show what he said exactly. He took 22 shots in the game, and he went to the foul line for 2 shots. He's not taking shots from 30 feet out. He's taking them in a crowd. And after the game, he went to the referees. He said, well, what's going on? How come I can't get to the line? And he quotes them as saying, because certain contact doesn't affect me like it affects other players. Because I'm stronger, they miss calls. Now, who does this remind us of? One guy only. Shaq. Shaq never got any calls. He never got any calls. You could hit Shaq in the head with a pipe, and Shaq wasn't going to the foul line. Julius Randle isn't as big or strong as Shaq, but apparently he's going to have to live with it, and so I say Shackton angry.
Well, and that's why my word is legit. And I hate to say this, Tony, because tomorrow night, the next game for Mr. Randle and the Knicks is in the world's most famous arena against my Bulls. And so tomorrow night, this is how the NBA works, and you know this because you covered the league for 100 years. He's going to get every call tomorrow night. He's going to the line 15 times against my team. All right, and those teams are 1-1 this season. Who knows? The tiebreaker game, this third game, could matter. So, look, he got fouled. They missed some calls. And don't tell him, I know they're hitting you with a sledgehammer, but you're big and strong, so it really doesn't dislodge you. And Randle was great talking about this after the game, and so was Shaq. And so now, tomorrow night, over-under on times to the line for Randle. I'm going to say he's going to get 14 free throws, and I hope it stays to 14 because it could be 18.
11. What's next?
All right.
Brendan Lemieux's 5-game suspension for biting Brady Tkachuk twice is blank.
It's tetanus preventative. What if Lemieux has rabies? You have to protect everybody in the NHL, so in effect, they're quarantining him for a couple of days. By the way, if I can't say exactly what Randle said to the referees,
you can't say that?
I certainly can't say what Tkachuk said to the referees as he held out his hand, his bloody hand, and skated from ref to ref to ref. I can't say that. Can't do it on this show. It's sort of like that bleep bit me. But I can quote him as saying this, and this is Tkachuk. Direct quote. The most gutless thing somebody could ever do. Kids don't even do that anymore. Babies do that. He's just a complete brickhead. He's got nothing up there. Bad guy, bad player. What a joke he is. Mike, I can't get better than that. I'm out of this one.
Tone, my word is justified. Because, of course, the 5-game suspension is justified. If he'd given him 8, it would have been justified, too. These are both the sons of ex-NHL players. And Tkachuk's dad was a great NHL player. And a guy, look, I know. I mean, T'Chuk has sort of a reputation, I guess, a lot like his dad. Not as great as player as his dad, but his dad was both a great goal scorer and a tough guy. And you might expect something crazy at the bottom of a pile. So he's got sort of the reputation of his dad. But you can't go this far. There's a line that has to be drawn. And it was seen to me to be, particularly in this day and age, biting. You can't do it.
Mike Tyson found out. It's bad to bite. That's it. Let's take one last break. Still to come, LeBron enters the COVID protocol.
And how concerned should everyone be about the baseball lockout that could start at midnight?
He's skating around with the blood on his hand.
Unbelievable.
Hey, come on.
That's like a rat. Biting somebody. Come on.
Drink responsibly. Part of Happy Hour. And in part by the United States Postal Service. Priority you.
Happy time, people. Happy 55th birthday, Larry Walker. Walker got into the Hall of Fame in 2020, his last year of eligibility, jumping up 22% in the voting over the previous year and begging the question if he really deserved it. But you might also ask of Walker, what took him so long? Walker was a 3-time Major League batting champion, a 7-time Gold Glove outfielder, and the National League MVP in 1997. Most glittering is his .313 lifetime batting average, which feels like an automatic credential. Walker is the second Canadian voted into the Hall after Ferguson Jenkins. And the mention of Canada brings up this. Wilbon, I think of Walker as a member of the Montreal Expos, where he played 6 years. But Walker went into the Hall as a Colorado Rocky, where he played 10 years. To me, it's a Carlton Fisk situation. Where do you associate Walker?
I associate him most with Montreal, Tony, but it's the Colorado thing which cuts both ways. Colorado back then certainly helped him amass those crazy numbers, but also the viewing of those numbers by the voters was a little suspicious, and that helped keep him out, I think, for as long as he was out. Because the numbers say, go in quickly.
Happy anniversary, Lane Kiffin. On this day 13 years ago, Kiffin was named head coach at the University of Tennessee. He lasted 1 year. He went 7-6 and left to go to USC. Kiffin had a better record there. He was 28-15, but in the middle of his 4th season, he was fired on the tarmac after a game. Kiffin went for reputation rehabilitation at Alabama, where he was Nick Saban's offensive coordinator for 3 years. Kiffin then went to Florida Atlantic, the Owls, if I'm not mistaken. He was 26-13 and twice made the Boca Raton Bowl, which sounds like something my relatives in Florida made up. Now Kiffin is in his 2nd year at Ole Miss, where he's 10-7 in the SEC, and that's good. This year's team is 10-2, ranked number 8 by the playoff committee. Wilbon, could you see Lane Kiffin being hired at Oklahoma or Notre Dame?
Oklahoma, yes, I can see Oklahoma interested in Lane Kiffin. Notre Dame, no. Now, I know people, including Mr. Kiffin, think that I just want to take shots. I'm not taking a shot. I'm just saying you want to talk about a fit that doesn't work? And we talked yesterday about Brian Kelly and LSU. Kiffin, Kiffin, not the senior Kiffin, not Monty, not his dad, who could have fit anywhere in the world. Not Notre Dame, no.
Happy trails to LeBron James's availability for the Lakers. LeBron has entered the NBA's health and safety protocols.